Let's
never
just
gonna be
freeze in this
professional
spot
enough.
so that
All right.
I don't know.
Oh.
Yeah, we did it. It's fine. That was pretty
You're
gas.
live
Um,
on BCR. Are we live on Paranorm Girl Pod?
Oh, not yet, but that's okay. I can send them if it doesn't pick up. I'll post your guys' link and we'll just watch it
Heck no. Heck
on your
no.
channel. Yeah.
It
Dropped my
should
stream
be.
key, buddy.
I got it. It's in there.
There
Let's
we go. I
see.
see it. There we go. Let me turn
heck
me down.
Got
yeah.
it.
Hmm.
We're good.
Yep.
Hell yeah.
Yay.
All right.
We are here.
All right.
We are ready to go. Just you guys all warmed up? You guys ready? You guys,
Hmm.
voices warmed up,
Think
hands
so.
warmed
I'm
up,
pumped. I'm pumped.
pumped.
Yes.
Yeah, yeah. How now, brown cows? You all out there warmed up, ready?
Butta gutta, butta gutta, butta gutta, butta gutta. Okay.
Okay, I'm gonna mess up a bunch, so there's a lot of bigger words in this that I have no idea how to say, but we are going to do it anyways.
Woo.
All right.
Your pen goes missing just when you need it. A lighter disappears into the ether when you just had it in your pocket. Your favorite horse breaks its leg in the last leg of a race. You're about to pay that mob boss what you owe him from betting on the horse race, and you reach in, and there's a hole in your pocket. Your money fell out. And just like your horse, your leg is now broken. But just like the last time, you'll head back to the track because rent is due, and you'll never learn. After all, you still have one other leg that works because you never heard the tales of the tricksters. Good evening and
Mm.
welcome to this special episode mashup of the Black Cat Report and Paranorm Girl podcasts. I am ecstatic today because I get to introduce two people I deeply respect, love, and think are probably some of the best people to ever walk this flat earth. First off, I'm going to introduce the pleasing and handsome, capricious in behavior, cunning and guileful, Gil.
Hello. Thank you for such a warm and wonderful introduction.
And it is my most pleasureful ecstasy to introduce the enchanting in movement, the beautifully beguiling in speech, the divinely mesmerizing Kristen.
Well, thank you, Joey, and thank you, Gil and Joey, for doing this collab. I've really been excited about this and this subject in particular to dig into it with you guys. I am so glad we did this.
Yeah. Hell yeah. Kristen
Yeah.
is the
Thank you for
sole
being
host,
here.
writer, producer, marketer, owner, and general all around badass of Paranorm Girl podcast. And if you haven't followed yet, now's the time to do it. Just do it. It's real easy. Just hit follow, like, and subscribe on the Paranorm Girl podcast wherever you're listening to this. Right?
Thanks, ma'am. Yeah,
Yeah.
thanks.
Mm-hmm. You just do everything. Me and Gil separate everything we do. So it's like you're basically double, but quadruple the double of me and Gil. Like
Yeah,
eight
but it's
times. Is that eight?
hey, it's worth it to do it the way that you guys do it because I'm actually 25 and I doubled in age. Just
Mm.
I
I
wake
thought
up
she was
feeling like I've
23.
run run over by a truck every morning. It's a lot.
Mm.
It's a lot for one person. But thank you. I appreciate that.
Yeah, yeah. Well, we're gathering here as a special mashup today because we got intrigued by the idea of trickster gods and the idea of tricksters in general from a past episode Gil himself had researched and narrated for the wonderfully amazing El Palmbero. And if you haven't listened to that episode yet, it is episode 127. You can take a listen right now. Well, a little later, but now for today, we brought Kristen on to discuss the trickster god and goddess or spirit phenomenon. We'll be going through a few of the tricksters themselves and maybe at the end comparing and contrasting their role and even some of their likenesses across eras and locations. Tricksters in themselves, what I like to call outlaws. And I want to see if you guys can go along with me on this, right? So let's see.
Hmm.
I feel like they're outlaws because, in a sense, they just stayed right outside of societal norms and societal laws. And they're constantly pushing boundaries to see if they can bend or break those boundaries, just like Gil did back in the day and still does today. Okay, no, I'm not supposed to say that. No, you know, Gil,
Gil with two L's.
Gil with two L's. You know, if I were to say that you were any trickster, I would say you would probably be Loki. Just it's an easy one to do.
Ooh.
It's because, and that's why I used the description of Loki to describe you in the intro.
Thank
Because I
you.
felt like you
Thank you
fixed
so
it.
much. I feel honored. I'm more of a pan man, but that's just me. You know. Like
Well,
but Loki's I accept Loki
Loki's
with
awesome.
grace.
Yeah,
And
yeah.
mhm.
yeah, no, Loki's the shit. I just something about Pan. I don't know. Maybe it's because like my arch nemesis is goats. That I just kind of have this like
Yeah.
but that's how you manifest your trickster spirit is you kind of have to love and appreciate something that you hate. You know what I'm saying?
True.
Like
Ah.
it has to be both ends
Oh,
of it.
that's right.
So
You hate goats. That came up in the last
fucking
in
hate
the
them.
Brinkley
Fucking
episode.
hate them. Yeah, not a
Mm.
fan. Not a fan.
H-
But I
Hair,
appreciate it.
hair and
Loki.
food. That would be my nemesis. That's it. I don't know how that trickster
You
trickster
don't
would
like
look.
hair and food or hair in food?
Kristen
Hair in food. How does it always
Okay.
find its way into food? It's the
Kristen's
trickster knew
spiritual
it.
entity is a 7-Eleven a food selection.
Do they have 7-Eleven in where you are?
Me? No, no. That was gosh. I haven't seen a 7-Eleven since I was in California. Actually.
Hmm,
Hmm. Do
Oh,
they have the
maybe it's
come and goes out there?
no. We've got
this name.
the what's it called? New news? No nos? I don't know.
No
There's a
nos?
weird one. Sounds poo poos. I can't remember.
I think it's poo
It's a
poos. I
chain.
feel like it's poo
I'm gonna
poos.
call it
Yeah.
poo poos, and they
Mm-hmm.
do have hair in their hot dogs.
Garfield and Leslie.
And it's not like face hair or like face hair or
It's a
top of head
mystery.
hair.
It's a
It's chest
mystery.
hair. Chest hair
Yeah,
that's on there.
yeah.
Yeah.
Doesn't matter at that point.
Ew, yeah, it's just not good.
I will say, Joey, just because I'm excited about what you're saying about going with the outlaw thing. That is goddamn near universal when it comes to tricksters in terms of always, almost always being a symbol of rebellion in whatever country they're in. So when revolutions, insurrections, things like that pop off, it's super common for resistance groups to adapt the imagery of
Mhm.
tricksters.
Hmm.
And like as a role in society, they almost always question like the establishment of authority and push
Mhm.
boundaries. So it's like being super profane and being very immature, but also being wise at the
Mhm.
same time and like incredibly knowledgeable, but sounding like a moron, you know. Again, that's a goal that I have for myself. But
On your side.
um,
Mhm.
yeah,
Well,
and
on
like
your way.
yes. Um, just slowly start sprouting goat legs below the camera. But
Mhm.
does anybody else want to play flute? Um, but but no, it's they tricksters are awesome. Tricksters are awesome. I don't know.
Mhm.
I'm excited to get into this, Joey. I'm
Yeah, yeah.
very fucking stoked. I've been like for weeks ever since Kristen first brought up the idea during our premiere of El Bombero. Kristen, you messaged you like, I want to do a collab episode with you about tricksters. Jesus Christ, hell yeah! How soon can we do it? You know,
Mhm.
I've just been like, yes, 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 yes. I'm stoked, buddy. I'm stoked to get
Yeah.
in.
Yeah. Can we start? Do you want to start with something? Throw us a bone, Joey, and then we'll launch off there. Because I think all three of us are going to be attacking this in different ways. So
Yeah, I
I'm
can already
excited to
hear
get
it
into the
from.
evolution. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Why don't you kick us
Yeah.
off?
Well, give me a minute.
Oh,
Yeah.
well, okay. While you're doing that, yeah, El
Jeez.
Pombero. That was such a neat moment that I was like, oh my god, we got to do a trickster episode because El
Mhm.
Pombero. Listening to you guys go through this episode, and I'm not going to give anything away because everybody needs to go watch it. Episode 102, 107. It's recent.
127.
It's very. Oh
It's
my
the only one
god.
that says El Pombero.
El
The title
Pomero.
is Kidnapped by a Cryptid, El Pombero.
Yeah, yeah. It's
Episode
very, very
127.
recent. Just go take a look at
Mhm.
their channel. But listening to this description of this creature, which I'd never heard of, I didn't know what El Pombero was. Listening to
No
this
idea either.
description, it was like, oh my God, that sounds so familiar. What is with this pattern? Like, it sounds just like Bigfoot to me.
Mm.
Like,
Yeah. Hmm.
and it was matching these like pattern for pattern. And I was like, oh my gosh. And then I started thinking, and I was like, people have equated Bigfoot to it does some weird things that falls in
Yeah.
line with the trickster. And
Hmm.
oh my gosh, what if El Pombero is Bigfoot? What if they're all what's going on? Is this a trickster? We got to do it. So that's where I'm
Yeah.
coming from. Yeah, we're gonna
Nice.
investigate,
I
explore.
wouldn't
Heck
I
yeah.
100% want to go to, so say they're all related, right?
Hmm.
I want
Distant
to go
cousins.
to a trickster wedding. Holy shit. Can
Ooh,
you imagine that after party? Like,
off
just like
Wild.
the
all the
hook.
tricksters hanging out together. Yes. They just like and and with these vows I say, divorce, surprise, motherfucker. It's just like, oh, it was a divorce the whole time.
Or
You got us.
or what if they just all played tricks on you because you're the only non-trickster? So like everybody ganged up on you. I mean, you're a trickster for sure in real life. Like if there was an embodiment of a
Oh,
spirit,
thank you,
it
buddy.
would be you. But what if they all ganged up on you? You know, how would you
I would
feel
love
about
it.
that? Yeah.
I would love it. I would absolutely love it. And also Donut in our chat pointed out an excellent idea,
Hmm.
saying, or made a great point saying, I would go to a trickster bonfire masquerade, which Jesus Christ,
Oh
if I had enough friends
man.
locally, we would have one of those.
We're getting so
That sounds
bohemian,
fucking
man.
awesome.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Oh, I'm
Hell
so here
yeah.
for it. Hey, Jaden.
Mm-hmm. Welcome all. Well, tricksters in themselves genuinely could be really cunning, or in some stories, be very, 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 very gullible. Take, for example, the story of Laverna, who was the Roman goddess of thieves, cheats, liars, and fraudsters. Laverna promised a priest who was selling his estate that in exchange for the estate, she would build a temple on the land. But instead, Laverna sold everything on the estate and, of course, did not build a temple. When the priest went back to look for Laverna, she was gone. And when she did it to another person, those victims, Laverna's trickery, came and asked the gods for help. The gods brought Laverna before them and asked why she did not uphold the agreement. Laverna made her body disappear, leaving only her head, and yelled, "Behold me! I swore my body, but body have I none." And the gods got really confused because Yoda and Star Wars had not been released yet after that. Yeah.
Hmm.
Yeah. Sorry. Not supposed to make jokes when I'm writing the script, but I try anyways.
No, it was good. It was good.
Yeah.
Good job. Good job.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean,
Where's the cricket sounds? Where the hell's the cricket
please,
sounds?
you need the crickets. Yeah. Crickets. I'll add them in
Why do
later.
I even close that tab? No.
Well, on the other side of it, they could also be very gullible, and the trick was always ending on them. The coyote spirit of the Hopi was generally viewed as the gullible trickster. The coyote was getting into many adventures, which end up serving as moral teachings for either social interaction or etiquette. And just as we said above, the trickster would be kind of outside the societal norms in order to kind of establish the boundary between what is acceptable and what is not. And a lot of the indigenous tribes use tricksters instead of saying that their morality is bad, they'd use it to say that they're like to teach lessons and that they're above, so we don't really understand what they're doing. Like basically like a god looking down on us. Coyote itself would get tricked and defeated by the animals it would interact with due to its greediness, recklessness, or its disobedience, right? So that's kind
Hmm.
of what coyote would happen. There's also some stories of the coyote being the non-gullible one, being the tricker, but it's not as prevalent as the Hopi versions of it. Well,
There's Do you mind if I point out a
yeah,
little
go
fun
ahead.
fact about
Always. Mm-hmm.
coyotes?
Always.
So I was actually, I went down a rabbit hole the other day, learning about coyotes,
Mm-hmm.
and there's a fun little thing that they do. So over, thousands of years of living incredibly close to humans and like human settlements and stuff, but never quite allowing themselves to become domesticated, they've picked up a lot of very interesting tricks. And this is actually a survival tip for folks because coyotes, fun fact, um, are in every single city within the United States. You might not see them, they exist. They live in packs, they run around neighborhoods. Coyotes, like, go look up the territory of coyotes, and it's cities that you would not expect. Like, LA has like a huge problem with coyotes right now. Like in
Hmm.
downtown, like they're everywhere. But
Wow.
with them being so close and so far, classic trickster behavior, um, they they've learned to do a couple of things, and these are warning signs for you. Seriously, like I'm not even making a joke here. So they'll pretend to be domesticated. They'll pretend to be all cute and like loving up against you in
Mhm.
order to lead you to a spot where they will literally attack you and try to kill you or eat you.
I've
So
Mm-hmm.
heard
they
that.
will go up and be like, "Oh, hi. Oh, yes, I do love when you rub my haunch. Yeah. Oh my God. Oh, chin scratches. It's been so long. Hey, do you want to come over here? I found something cool." And then they'll just murder your ass. So that's one trick that they
Mm-hmm.
are known for doing to people. So this is like an
Mhm.
actual, if you're out at the park or you're out and you're like, "Oh, oh God, it's a coyote." And then you're like, "Oh, wait. Oh, it's acting so cute. Oh, it must be somebody's pet." Don't fall for that shit. Seriously, this is a survival
Mm-hmm.
tip. Another thing they'll do is pretend to be injured
Mhm.
Yep.
and
Yep.
play on people's sympathy in order to injure the person. So, like,
Mhm.
I'm just saying, very fitting for a trickster to like, that's solid survival advice. If you're out in the woods and you're like, "Yeah, it's a coyote," she'd be like, "Wait a second, notorious tricksters. I'm not falling for that shit, but I will give you some chin scritches, but not too many." Like,
Right.
so.
Humanity recognizes this type of behavior so easily. And like it is an archetype, like Jung, pegged it as one of the archetypes. But
Mhm.
it is also so fitting too that was this the Cherokee? Coyote was Cherokee's
Hopi.
trickster? Hopi, I'm
Well,
sorry.
yeah. I mean, it was
Mhm.
pretty much most of the
Was it okay?
southern indigenous tribes, but
Okay.
it
Yeah,
was, yeah,
it's
the
just
plains.
so fitting for them to put this archetype, this character onto that particular creature because they
Yeah.
recognized that behavior. They
Mm-hmm.
recognized it. It was already yeah, the trickster was already there. That thought of
Mm-hmm.
that set of behaviors. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Interesting.
And
Yeah.
and I wonder how much, as Joey goes through the stories that he's about
Hmm.
to deliver, I wonder how many of these things kind of, is it the chicken or the egg kind of thing? Is it a
Right.
recognition of a trickster like entity, being, essence, whatever? There's a million terms for it. Is there a recognition of that? And then in order to teach children about that, you say, "Look at the
Mm-hmm.
coyote, and look at this," because it's so
Hmm.
common for folks to compare stuff that it might be complex, but has a broader, an overarching moral or like lesson to it, to compare it to something in nature, right? Like
Right.
we have phrases
Mm-hmm.
like that all the time. The thunder before the storm, or like where there's smoke, there's fire. Like we do these types of things. We come up with these analogies all the time, and I wonder how many times it's like, oh, the coyote became the trickster god,
Mm-hmm.
or the trickster god that everybody was aware of just really fit with the behavior. And it was a great way to kind of teach folks and like basically
Right.
Yeah.
kill two birds with one stone, where you're like, yeah,
Mm-hmm.
also watch out for him. But also there's this god out there that you need to be careful about. Like,
Mm-hmm.
I don't know.
Or to help
Yeah.
people conceptualize that god.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Go ahead,
Yeah.
Joy.
And Kristen, you mentioned Jungian,
Hmm.
like the theory behind it. I just he was old when he came up with these things. So why did they call him Carl Jung?
Mm-mm.
Ooh.
You need
Jaden
cricket
Jaden
skill.
got you on that. Jaden earlier said impossible challenge. Joey goes 30 seconds without saying a joke. Um,
I lost. Thank you, Jaden, for the challenge.
We love you,
Okay.
Joey.
Yeah, you know what? Gotta add some laughter to myself in
Keep them
this, because
coming. No, keep them coming.
Yeah, Joey's just over there like somebody's got to make me laugh. But
yeah. You just did. Good job, Gil. That was a nice one. Kristen made me laugh earlier. She had a good one. So, alrighty, let's hop
little
right into these
scoreboard.
trickster gods,
Yeah.
goddesses, and
Keep them
spirits.
coming.
Yeah. So the first trickster we're going to talk about today is Valus. Which Valus? I don't know if you guys know who Valus is.
Mm-mm.
Nope.
Veles. Okay. Chose this one because there isn't actually a whole lot written about Valus, and most of it is actually just from spoken tales. Valus, the god, serves as a duality between societies, right? So the earliest written reference to Valus was in the Rus Byzantine Treaty of 971 BC, in which signers wore by Valus' name. Sorry, the earliest written reference to Valus was in the Rus Byzantine Treaty of 971 AD, in which signers swore by Valus's name, kind of like how we swear on the Bible in God's name when we testify in court.
What region was this in
I'm about to
of
say
the world?
that.
Oh,
Yep. Gotcha. Gotcha. Valus was associated with the Russo-Slavic area of Europe, which is basically where modern day Slovakia, Romania, Ukraine, and southwestern Russia. So it's in that Baltic area, that little area down
the best place to buy an AK-47 from. Got it.
there. Yeah, exactly. Valus supplies and delivers.
Why do you know that? Go on.
Yeah. Next story. No, I'm kidding.
Eh?
That was literally the whole
S-
story. The AK
so
47. He
abrupt.
was the AK
I was
47
just
dealer.
getting sucked in
So,
to Valus.
so all right. So with Valus, so we're in the Slovakian like
Yep.
regions and stuff, and you said folks were they signed this treaty or this trustees or whatever, like they
Yeah.
signed it to his name, so they were like swearing an oath, or they were
They were
basically
swearing an
saying
oath.
like it was their generation's version of being like on God, like that's what was happening here. Um,
Hmm.
so this had
No
to be
cap.
like pretty widely accepted for this to make it into pseudo legal documents at the time. Is
Hmm.
there any, were you able to find any um, depictions like early coins or like say like shields or something like that, like anything associated with? Because like if it's that
There
big
there
of a
was a few
deal, I
early
feel like it would be
depictions.
popping up symbolically, you know?
Hmm.
Hmm. There was a few early depictions. This is also, if we think about it, it's just before Christianity
Mm,
hits Russia and that area. So it's just before that Christianity was
gotcha.
brought over there. So this is paganism. This is their
Mm.
style of
Yeah.
paganism and witch gods, because there's a bunch of gods. Valus is one of the many. As you know, as we talk about,
Okay.
every other culture around this time has a bunch of gods basically describing how they understand what's going on in the world. And that's another part about, the trickster gods. It's an ability to let them understand what's going on in the
Right.
world. Hmm. Now,
Mm,
the duality of Valus is that Valus is also associated, as well as being a trickster, but associated with poetry and wisdom, and as well as being the lord of waters, oceans, seas, ships, and whirlpools. Valus is also the hunter and protector of cattle, which is just add another, little star to Valus's name, little title.
We had the most random gods back in the day.
Hmm.
It's like you are the gods of cats and missing socks.
Yeah, yeah. They
They
just
just
throw it.
needed to put something in it to fill the hole.
Hmm. They write and they're like, man, I almost got to the end of the page. Yeah, and the leader of cattle.
You are the god of running out of room at the end of a page and having to write really tiny at an upward angle. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, on the
Nailed
other side of this, he is also the god of the underworld. So basically, he's in the Christian terms, he's the devil, or in the Greek terms, he's Hades. So,
The god
which
of
is
burgers
kind of,
and burning.
yeah,
Okay.
right. Yeah.
I like it.
as Veles is the god of the underworld, is more of the normal trickster we're kind of used to hearing about, right? Not the god of poetry, wisdom, lord of waters, more of the god of the underworld. Using trickery, he would drag souls down to the underworld after they had passed away. And depictions of Veles vary a lot amongst the culture, amongst the little tiny regions. In Russo, Byzantine area, differentiated, and the like the small West the Yugoslavia, Serb, Slovenia area. I think it's not Slovenia,
Mhm.
Slovakia area. All little different little things about it. Some of them depicted as him just being a bald human male, sometimes with like bull horns on his head. Actually, if you want to think of it, he had kind of had the bull horns like trying to think of the god that had bull horns.
Like
Blanking.
minotaurs or
Yeah, like
like
kind of like a minotaur, I guess, right? With a bald head.
okay, okay.
All I'm picturing right
I
now
mean,
is
a
just
lot of
the
things
lobster boy.
have horns. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah.
That's right. It's not just one guy that I can think of.
Yeah.
It's a lot of
All I'm picturing
entities.
is movie night last night with Tokyo Gore
Oh,
Police.
yeah.
The chief who had the giant horns.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
Well, and the creationist side of the story, because it's really there's most of these tricksters have two sides of it, different sides of how they were created. In the creationist side of the story, he is shown as a huge dragon lying in a nest of black wool or black fleece beneath the world tree. And Gil, is part of the what is it, protector of cattle and everything around sheep, goats as well. Seeing that this dragon killed a bunch of goats probably makes you happy.
Yeah. I'm generally on the trickster side. This makes sense.
Mm.
This is Valus and his evolution. They turned him into a dragon. Like this is part of the evolution here.
It's just different cultures.
Oh, okay.
Yeah,
Gotcha.
different
Okay.
cultures view him in
Gotcha.
different ways, and how they created. How one of
Mm.
them was like he's a creator, and we'll see this in the indigenous stories too. One of them says that he's a creator, and another one's just
Mhm.
like, no, he's just like a fat, bald, horned human.
Yep.
Like he's one of us. Like thinking of it like,
He's just fat, bald, and horny. Yeah.
yeah, yeah. uh,
Okay. All right.
yeah. I would say that he is almost the literal amalgamation of Loki and Hades mixed together from Greek and Norse mythology.
Mm-hmm.
Because, like Hades, he was thrown down into the underworld after trying to kidnap the Mokash, the goddess of summer, who is also, is a lot of name dropping here, the consort of Perun, who is basically Odin. I'm trying to compare so people can understand like who they are in the story. Perun is Odin, right? The leader, and actually Perun is also the god of thunder, which is the same thing.
Mhm.
So
Gets
it's like,
real confusing real quick.
yeah, they're not too super far from each other, and I imagine the Vikings and came down a little bit. I don't know, maybe it's around this time, maybe a little earlier. I don't know time periods anymore, but time isn't real. Well,
Yeah. Go ahead.
they they basically battle underneath a huge oak tree, and Perun, the god of thunder, wins and casts him down into the underworld. So this is like the origin story of how he becomes the boss of the underworld. He goes, give me some mozzarella, and then he becomes mob boss of the underworld.
Makes sense. This tracks.
Yeah. Sorry. I've been watching The Sopranos, and I'm kind of just, getting into my roots.
Never
So good.
seen it. I gotta watch it. Never seen even one.
Hmm. Well, it's just a lot of sex, a lot of boobs, because he's
Ooh.
always in a strip club.
Ooh.
Yeah. And then he's killing people.
Cool.
And then
Cool.
he's in therapy. So it's like that, again, duality, You see this duality of him. Like you just watch him in therapy, and the next scene, he's at a strip club. And then next, he's having sex with some random girl that you just came on the screen randomly. And then you're like, cool, this is
He just does
just
it
like
over
the
and over and over
tricksters.
again. Just a
Mm-hmm.
yeah,
Yep.
vicious
Yeah.
circle.
And isn't that how we all live?
That's life, baby.
Mm-hmm.
I need to get out more. Um,
So did Valus.
so Right. So we got Valus
Mm-hmm.
with various different depictions across the
Mm-hmm.
regions. I would imagine that these depictions kind of got muddled up, mixed up, maybe altered from being fairly uniform after Christianity came in and made talk or,
Are you
any
reading my
any
script?
sort of representation, right? Well, I mean, this is just what has happened a million and one times,
Mm-hmm.
sadly, as Christians came in. Uh, did their best to just slash and burn people's cultures, right? And
Mm-hmm.
then use the ashes as fertilizer for their own mutated versions of
Mm.
Christianity, depending on the region. Um, so there might have been other gods, would be my first take. Is there might have been other gods, and then over time, generationally, since people can really talk with their neighbors because they might get snitched on and reported
Mm-hmm.
to the Christian police, these things get mixed up over time. Like families might call them Valus, but then at the same time nobody's openly talked about Valus in 20, 30, 40 years, and so
Mm-hmm.
they become these little niche stories, and then all of a
Mm-hmm.
sudden it just starts adapting and filling in roles everywhere, and then before you know it, you have the god of cats and missing socks, like, at the end of the day.
You do.
And are you presenting this right now as it was this like the earliest kind of depiction or concept of like a trickster god that there is that's on record?
There at the there have been through time. This is the earliest that I could find as a with a lot of information, I would
Mm.
say, with enough information to put it in part of an episode, I guess is the way to say
Mhm.
it.
Mhm.
Gotcha.
A lot of them, again, like this is one of those that's passed down through, a lot of them are just passed down through stories. And without a lot of written evidence, it's hard, like you just said, it's hard to not go, well, was this repurposed? And they
Yeah.
started as one thing, but
Right.
then you start seeing them rotated into different, like, this one has like 7 different responsibilities is what I'll call the
Mm.
things. Yes, they just get so many responsibilities, tricksters. That's why they get so tricky. um, but it's the earliest I could find with decent enough information to
Right.
understand, like, okay,
Right.
this is a person.
Yeah.
Valus did also even extend himself into today. And just like Gil was talking about, and he just feels like he reads my scripts and then just goes, you know what? He reads my mind. Because Valus was repurposed to be either, he got repurposed to 2 different things, but to be either the devil, which he kind of,
Hmm.
it was a little bit of tricksterish, which if we look in Christian iconography, most of the trickster gods turn into the devil. Christianity kind
Mhm.
of goes, this is
Yeah.
devilish behavior, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Hmm.
Well, yeah, that's interesting because Satan, or if we consider the devil and Satan to be the same, Satan, that was actually a note I made earlier today. Satan is like a famous trickster, matches
Mm-hmm.
Hmm.
tons of the traits of this
Mm-hmm.
entity, whatever this thing is, this concept. That's Satan, baby. So Valus
Yeah.
became the devil. Okay.
Yeah. What's crazy too is that when Vladimir the Great brought Christianity to Russia, which is not too far after the first written signing, it was, I think it was 971. Let me make sure, because
Hmm.
971, I was correct. Uh Vladimir the Great brought Christianity to Russia in 988. He created and kind of mirrored Valus with the idea of a saint, Saint Vasily, who is depicted in Russian iconography, surrounded by sheeps, cows, and goats, which is
Hmm.
the he's a leader of the cattle, of
Hmm.
hunting and protecting. So it
Gotcha.
kind of is like they took both sides of it, and we're like, let's Christianity went, okay, here's the good sides, let's take that, and here's the bad side, we're just gonna slash them and use them.
Yeah,
Yeah,
and that
that's
Christian co-opting is just that's just conversion 101
that was
for
across the board
every
for yeah,
Mm-hmm.
yeah.
every crusade.
Hmm.
Yeah, just like co-opt the hell out of whatever the hell's there. Like anything that's deeply rooted or could be kind of twisted, And it's just like, yeah, we're just gonna co-opt this, and it's gonna be the Christianity's local flavor, you know.
Mm-hmm.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Once you start reading into that, it's just like this moment over and over again. Like, are you fucking kidding me? Seriously? Because it's so like once you can see like, oh, this was the old version, and then this is the Christian version. It's like, oh, come on. Like you couldn't even change the one thing. You couldn't change it enough that I wouldn't recognize it. Like, but you don't know
Mm-hmm.
that until you look at it.
Christ might be the greatest trickster of all. That's all I'm saying.
Ah, man, I was just about to say that. It's true. To add to this, right? So we
Mhm.
use the phrase put someone out to pasture, right? You're putting an animal, put a
Mhm.
person out to pasture. They're retiring, or I don't know, in the end of it, you're going to die. I don't know. It's don't really use it as going to die, but use it as you're retiring nowadays. Well,
Yeah.
remember the idea that he was the protector of cattle and and the hunter of cattle. So in the Slavic and Baltic Russo area during that time, it literally means somewhere you go after death, because when they died, they
Mm.
went out to pasture. It didn't say out to pasture, it's like out to the fields. I picture it as, in Gladiator, that scene when Marcus Aurelius is dying and he dreams of walking through the fields of grain in the
Mhm.
pasture, meeting his wife and kids again. That's
Mhm.
kind of the idea that this Valus would put forth, is that you're going out to pasture with the animals, which is like living in like it's a beautiful afterlife. Even though he was the god of the underworld, it wasn't like a fiery brimstone underworld like we think of, like Christianity has brought to us,
Mm.
which makes it interesting. Which is the
Huh.
change from Christianity. Yeah. Well.
Okay.
Yeah. Well, well, thank you
And
for
yes.
lifting the Valus on that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Hmm. Spit.
Mm. Well, we're going to drop into our second trickster for today. Walking past Gills. Nice little pun. We're going to travel just a bit southwest to go down to the continent of Africa, specifically in the country of Ghana, where the trickster Anansi originated.
I'm
Anansi,
excited
the
about
name
this.
itself, yeah. Anansi, the name itself, was derived from the Akin, I think it's Akin, word for spider. I want to apologize for all of the things that I'm pronouncing incorrectly. I've looked them up. Not as
Anasazi?
it's hard. The Akin,
Oh.
on Anansi. I think it's Anansi. I think it's Anansanzi too. There's different pronunciations for all of these gods from different areas.
Poltergeist potato. It's the same thing.
Yeah, yeah. It it's
Go
funny
with your
looking.
gut, Joey.
Yeah, it's
Go
funny
with your gut.
looking at all of these tricksters, and then like we talked about with the culture and how much they like change over the different cultures. Their names change the tiniest of bits because different languages, of course, to in
Yeah.
smaller regions. So you're just like, I don't know what to call you. I'll call you what I saw you on Google, and the most that came up the most in the Google hits. So I feel like that's the best way to go. Correct me if I'm wrong, please.
Before we get started, I have
Mhm.
to go deal with a little trickster myself. Hold on one moment.
Uh-oh.
The cat. One of
Mm.
my cats. Hold.
All right.
Mhm.
Uh-oh, got into something.
Yeah.
Or climbing through the screen. Yes. Yes, Joey. So Anansi. Anansi.
Anansi.
Yes.
Anansi.
Okay. Okay. I was just reading. I assumed it was a she. I might be wrong, but I was
Mhm.
just reading about this god, and it's like a giant spider.
Giant spider. That's one of the ways it's
Ugh.
depicted. Hmm.
Why have a god that's a spider? Why choose that?
It it's I would say it's not okay. So this is semantics, right? So
Uh-huh.
it's Anansi in a lot of stories is not a god. It's like
Okay.
I would say more of a spirit. It's like a in between, and they say it in a lot of the stories. It's the in between the gods and people, and so it's like the mixture. It was like a messenger in a lot of ways. It does godlike things, which is
Mm-hmm.
very interesting in some of the stuff I've read, and some obviously some of the stories because it's a million different little culture, little regions around there having tiny bit different stories. Some of them had it as a god. Most of them had it as just like a messenger. between, even though it was like a spider, you know?
Right, right. Okay, but it was between like the god, this level between the gods
Hmm.
and then humanity,
Yeah.
like an angel or the jinn.
Hmm. Yeah.
Okay.
If you've ever read the Silmarillion, oh, it's getting real nerdy here. There's the top, which is the why can't I remember the name? Manway, and the Manway is basically the top of it, and then you go down, and right beneath that is the mayor, which is like Gandalf, Saruman, and stuff like that. So like the second level, they're the Istar, which is the wizards, the second level of it. They're, kind of there. So that's what I would say Anansi is, like a second level. Like you said, the Jinn, like right
Mm-hmm.
below the
Mm-hmm.
angels.
Okay.
That's kind of
Okay.
what Anansi is.
Mm.
All
Welcome
right.
back, Gil.
Welcome back. Hope all is well.
Hello. Yes, I heard Data doing that yawing like that,
Mm.
that
Oh,
like that, like when he misses me, when he's like, "Where are you?" He probably wakes up from a nap and he's like, "Where is?" I don't know why he didn't hear. I think he just wanted attention. Anyways, I had to go take care of him, make sure he was cool. So he's
Oh,
good.
good.
My little trickster's fine for now.
understood.
No. Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
The god of
parental
stealing sucks.
responsibilities.
Mm-hmm.
Mine's asleep behind me.
Mm-hmm.
Nice.
Mm-hmm. Well, some like Kbuz had just said, some stories depict Anansi as a spider. The spider in this term has a human face, which is just like, ugh.
Ew.
Ugh. I don't like that. That just
All
makes it
right.
weirder. Some of them have him with a human, like just as a human, normal with 8 legs. So like some of the depictions of him have 8 legs, and it's just like, what is that? Or like it didn't explain and it didn't show pictures if the legs were human legs of 8 legs or if they were spiders of 8 legs. You know what I mean? Like
Damn.
Nope.
spider spindly legs.
Or if it was
And
human legs and it just looked really, really whack and crazy. That was an angel. They all looked
mhm,
crazy.
the
Yeah.
creepiest of them.
Biblically correct angels were were
Hmm.
not any better.
Mm-mm. Well, one of the stories associated with the Anansi, and probably perhaps the most well known story, is a story that Anansi itself allowed us to have. This makes sense a little later.
Makes
That
sense.
sounds weird.
Yeah. PR team. Yeah.
Hmm. Exactly. Yeah, they're good marketers. So, before time, the distant way back in the day, there were no stories, right? This is a interesting concept. Yeah, this is the concept.
Okay. We're dealing with the concept. I thought you were
Y-
stating a
y-
matter of fact. I was like, what? Mind blown.
it's like the if the tree falls in the forest is if no one's there
Hmm.
and they hear it. No stories
Gotcha.
if you can't tell them.
That makes sense.
Hmm. All the stories at the time were owned by the sky god Nayame. Ananze, jonesing, I added that word in myself for some stories, decided to try and buy the stories from Nayame, but Nayame laughed. Nayame is the sky god for the Aegon people, basically like the big cheese, the big over top, the Odin, so to speak, of everybody,
Yeah. The
the
upper
Zeus.
tier.
Hmm. Well, Nanze said that he would pay anything. So Naomi, kind of joking, gave Ananze 4 near impossible tasks, right? And so this is also kind of like other stories as well. They have many impossible tasks, kind of like all the what did I say, all the old like Brothers Grimm stories back in the day too. You have all
Hmm.
these tasks you have to do.
Hmm.
Well, Nanze would have to catch 4 of the most dangerous creatures in the world: the Onini, the python. Don't know if I said that correctly. Mumboro hornets, and if you know hornets, impossible to catch. Osebo the leopard, and the fairy Memotia. So a lot of sorry again, a lot of hard words. Anansi
You're doing good.
agreed, but the Nayame made another demand. Ananse would have to bring his mother, Yanisia, with him to do this. It's just like, wow, cool. Bring your mom. You're not cool enough. You're not good enough. So Ananse did what any other good person would do and asked his wife to come along too and help. Well, to make this longer story shorter, because it is a very long story, and I don't want to go through all of it here. Ananze used trickery and guile to capture each of the four creatures and brought them back to Nayame. And then Nayame said, well, you did that, so I can't say no. Was laughing about it, basically, like, I didn't even believe you were going to do that. Here's the stories. And now the theory behind it is that now we can all enjoy all of the stories. And that is one of the myths, the folklore behind Ananze.
Okay. Okay. So
Mm-hmm.
Anansi is considered like kind of like a trickster entity because of the way that they attack their assignments, like
Their
what they were supposed
tasks. Yeah.
their tasks.
Mm-hmm.
Oh,
Mm-hmm.
okay. Okay.
Yeah. So the task
Mm.
basically was like would go to the Hornets and was like, "Hey, Hornets, it's about to rain," and they were all out, flying around as Hornets do,
Mhm.
attacking people, and was like, "Hey, this is about to rain. I got a place for you guys to go. Like, you can come. I have this little thing. Said like a pot. It was some kind of pot, and was like, you guys can stay in here, like in this pot, until it finishes raining." And they're like,
Hurry.
"Oh,
Yeah.
yeah." They're like, "Oh God, it's gonna rain." And so they got in there. He's like, "Gotcha."
Okay.
Like
Okay.
use
His
cunning and
wife's
guile.
just in the background with tinfoil, like, whoa.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Shh.
The best team
Okay.
ever. Yeah,
Okay.
real power couple. Hmm. Well, adding into this, because this started in Ghana, right? And this started in that area of the world. Once the African slave trade pretty much started to wreak havoc on the tribes in that area, they used some of the tales as Anansi to develop their own ideals. And this is exactly what Gil was saying earlier with resistance.
Mhm.
Because so many people were being taken as slaves, it allowed them a blueprint for the idea of resistance. And Gil just, you know, threw it out there because he's a genius with this, with knowing how this script is written. Which then leads Ananze to the aforementioned idea that Ananze is an outlaw, which I'm coming back to because I just bring all these trickster gods back to being outlaws.
Love it.
Ananze allowed African American people who were taken as slaves to dream of turning the tables on their oppressors by using cunning and trickery, the same way that Ananze did in the four trials. Even if some of the physical part of revolting didn't always happen, it did happen as well, and they used those. I think it gave them sort of an other world to go to just to get by as well. It wasn't just a physical, it was also a mental part of tricksters that allowed them to use it. They would also use it as real life applications to understand their behavior, basically using behaviors to start to get like what is it called, to gain the upper hand in the plantation power structure. And I didn't make that up. That was actually written about in a book. Try to find the actual person who wrote that. I'm not smart enough to think of that, but it's true. um Sorry, this was written by, never mind, what am I doing?
A guy.
A guy,
What's
a
his
some
name?
really smart
Ty.
some
guy.
dude.
Yeah, I'll list it
He
in
was
the
the
show notes.
Anansi.
But
No.
mhm,
Yeah, Anansi's PR team.
mhm,
Um, this is mm, I don't know. So this brings up, you kind of just touched on a point in a general sense, that I had written down here, something that I did want to
mhm,
kind of talk
yeah,
over a little bit. Um, sh- like tricksters, trickster entities, trickster spirits, gods, what have you. Um, but there's a handful of things that they kind of like universally can get applied to them, where it's like there's a few outliers where it's like this trickster entity over here doesn't have that or isn't known for that. But for the most part, there is, like, I would say, like a good 70 to 85% like fitting description for
Mhm.
most tricksters across cultures, centuries, and just like experiences, human experience, right? Like, it feels like everybody
mhm,
everywhere, no matter how connected they are, kind of all settle on these same 75, 80% of similarities when it comes to tricksters. And one of those things, one of those hallmarks is being a shapeshifter.
Mhm.
mhm,
That just across the board, right? Sometimes the shapeshifters, the essence or the powers that they have, right? The abilities it can be full on, like, they can shapeshift into anything. They can sound like anyone. They can imitate anything. It's just complete copy and paste of whatever they're trying to imitate or become. Other times it'll be tricksters where they can transform into, birds and frogs specifically, but
Mm-hmm.
generally speaking, shapeshifter's a thing. And I think that it's fascinating too, because going back to the cultural level, right, in terms of how societies adopt in times of need, right? Tricksters, right? In terms of, we're going to take a different lesson from that. We're going to
Mm-hmm.
stop fearing it and we're going to start embracing certain qualities, right? Tricksters themselves as entities, they shapeshift within society's eyes. And
Mhm.
it's so fucking fascinating to see that, right? Where it's like you have this external entity, but the actual um, lessons go from we should fear them to we should use them to impose fear on our enemies.
Mhm.
Mm-hmm.
That
Right.
the
And like
trickster
how
becomes
they, yeah, and it's
what it is
they
that you
literally
need, right?
they shapeshift their own status,
Hmm.
right? Which is so fucking fascinating to me, because there's this concept of like, it is external, it is real, it is, living, breathing, walking, transitioning through dimensions, what have you, but also as a, I don't know, an ideology, as a belief system,
Right.
right? It just, everything just kind of like shifts with them, and it's, I fucking love that, because literally it went from being like, hey, it's a part of the creation story and it's a part of this and it's bad and it's not, we should kind of be worried about it, to being like, this is how we're going to oppose the slave trade.
Hmm.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, yeah.
Right.
Right.
And fucking love that. Tricksters are so fucking cool, man.
Mm-hmm.
Cool.
I love that ability as well. I've said that before, talking about tricksters in the past, that it's like when you were talking about it in regards to an entity, something that is real
Yeah.
and an entity, not a concept, not an ideology. Um, this entity, it doesn't seem to have a form, a face, a name.
Hmm.
And I have said this before too. It becomes what you need to see.
Hmm.
It shows itself to you in the way that you are going to be able to see it. And that
Mm-hmm.
has a lot to do with the person and the perceiver as well. But just this idea that maybe it doesn't maybe it doesn't have like we can't I can't describe to you what one looks like,
Mm-hmm.
because its whole existence is shape-shifting. I don't know. Like
Yeah.
it's bopped from one, fairies, aliens, Bigfoot, like on and on and on down the line. Used to be gods, like down the line. Like, is it? I don't know. Is it like a concept that has become something that's real, but it doesn't have a body to call home?
Hmm.
That's where my brain went.
That's an interesting thought.
It ties
What's the
into much bigger theory, but yeah, that fascinates me.
Yeah.
That something
what's
that could very
what's
much.
what's the I'm drawing a blank here. This just came up in a recent interview that you did.
Hmm.
Um uh it's not an agricor. It's a tulpa.
Tulpa, yeah,
Mm-hmm.
Tulpas. So are
right.
they, if we want to go the route of defending tricksters existing and not just being a tool, not
Hmm.
just capital J on just being a
Mm-hmm.
tool of social expression and existence and explanation, right? But actual entities,
Right.
right? And in our understanding of it has a conscious, and that's kind of where it ends with being able to
Mm-hmm.
describe them.
Hmm.
Um, you know, are they tulpas? Are they regional tulpas? Right.
That's
And a tulpa
that's
being a thought form. I just realized I never explained that to folks. Um, sorry. A tulpa being more or less enough of an emotional and mental commitment
Mm-hmm.
by humans. Or I guess I've never heard it applied to other animals, but by humans that brings something, manifests an actual conscious entity into existence, and it's a thought form. It's a thing that's been created strictly because of people's beliefs,
hmm
right? Almost
hmm
kind of like how we value money, If anything, it's kind of
Right.
a really
Right.
messed up. That's
Well,
a
that
very
would be an egregore
abstract
created
but
by
simple.
groupthink. So
Mhm.
Yeah,
groupthink is going to
yeah.
create your
So
egregore.
thank you. Yeah,
The single
the
person is going to create the
aggregated
tulpa
tulpas.
or
Yeah,
servitor.
yeah.
But the thing is, like, after my recent talk with Dave Zilla, he's a practicing witch and he's
Mhm.
also very much into AI, and he created his own egregore with the help of AI. Like, I do believe these to be very real, like thinking a being into reality. I think they
Mhm.
are real.
Mm.
Um, and that's interesting. You picked out tulpa specifically because out of all of the thought forms, tulpa is going to be the more likely out of all of them to kind of separate from its creator and become its own thing, thinking for itself, making decisions for itself, and causing some havoc, causing some chaos, which is interesting.
Mhm.
Could be, was it the first person on Earth and they got lonely, so they made themselves a friend, and the trickster's been here ever since?
Could be.
Hmm.
Hmm.
We went so deep, you guys. All
I
right.
love it. Well, adding into a lot of that, and I think taking it from the physical realm to more of the cultural realm, for which I did a lot of the study into the cultural realm, and the idea that most of the African tribes created their trickster god as animals, you know,
Mhm.
and if you look at Europe's trickster gods, they're most in general human being, like human being with like Loki. Who would the other? Who's the um Hermes? Hermes
Mhm.
is
Mhm.
Brea. Was
Like
it? Is it?
god of travel or something. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah.
A
They're
bunch
but
of
they're
them.
all very
Yeah.
human-like, and a lot of the African tribes have a lot of animals, you know. And from stuff that I've read, just the idea behind the tricksters feeling like they're part of the people that they come from, and that they're like against some sort of. I think a lot of this moved towards it more when the slave trade happened, is
Mhm.
that the animals became more parts of their lives because, again, like we talked about, their resistance, and that these animals were became very cunning and very like smart, very clever on ways to like fight in different ways. And then with you know the Europeans, they're just like, oh, they're humans, they're just like us, we're over top, and they're more of like an, I don't know, trying to explain this idea that I was having, that a lot of Europeans don't have the, we use, I guess, the human as a archetype
Mhm.
comparatively. Native Americans also use a lot more animals as well as in their
Right.
spirits and theirs too. So I was just wondering if there could be some kind of connection between those two.
I
I,
don't know.
I
Does it have
think
to do with? Yeah. Go ahead.
I think that comes with the general bastardization that comes with Christianity as a whole. So one of Christianity's early tenets, like its very early foundational tenets, is to separate people as much as possible from nature
Mm-hmm. Yep.
and to get humans to see themselves as separate from the animal kingdom,
Mhm.
right? Like
Yep.
that's like standard, like you are unique, you are blah blah blah. I mean, go back to the Bible and it's like God gave man dominion over all things,
Yeah. Up here.
right? And separating out the human from the animal, where um most of the world, I would say most of the sane world,
Mm-hmm.
never saw ourselves as separate from animals. Yes, we fit in with them and we have our own little fancy dance and communication, but at the same time, like we recognize ourselves as like we eat, sleep, fucking shit. You know, like this is we are the same as every other living thing that we can
Mhm.
see, and we're
Mm-hmm.
all um, inherently connected to one another. Which so when you get into like battling paganism, very broad stance, right? When you get into battling paganism, you have to differentiate yourself, right? When it comes to that
Mm-hmm.
literal war that was taking place, right?
Yeah.
Mhm.
And one of those things is to say, no, 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 I'm human. I'm better than all this other shit. I own all this other shit. I have
Right.
rights to all this other shit. I can do whatever the hell
Mm-hmm.
I want to it, which justifies a whole host of atrocities for thousands of years.
Mm-hmm.
um, but that was a part of the weaponization of
Yep.
the Christian doctrine as a whole.
Mhm.
So, I mean, to kind of get back a little bit to what you were saying at the beginning of your thoughts, Joey, um, the Christian Bible is full of examples. Sorry, I'm forgetting some, but I hope folks that are in the chat who paid more attention in Sunday school than I did can bring them up. But it's full of examples of angels working as tricksters,
Mm-hmm.
right? Like
Hmm.
that
It's
is
so
a
so interesting.
literal
Yeah.
thing. That is a literal thing.
Yep.
Is like, oh, they went up and they did this and they tried to convince him of this and they da 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 and this and that and the other. And then for like kind of the big moves on things, it's Satan, it's the devil, it's the
Mhm.
fallen
Yeah.
angel,
Yeah.
it's
Mhm.
Lucifer
Behind
popping
everything.
up.
Mhm.
That's
He's making
yeah.
the big moves,
Yeah.
but there's
Mhm.
angels popping in. And there's like, look at the story of Job, for instance, right? Like within Christianity,
Mhm.
where the devil's like, oh, look at that guy over there, he's real into it, but his life's been so fucking easy. I bet he would give up on you if he made it hard. God fell for a trickster. God fell. He just started torturing Job and doing the worst
Mhm.
possible things to him. He's like, yeah, see, he still believes me. And Satan's like, yeah, I don't know. It kind of seems like he's slipping. And he's just like, well, that's fuck it, kill his kids. And Satan's like, oh my God, you
God.
actually did that. I mean, you actually did that. Like, that's some classic trickster shit.
Mhm.
Like you are
Mhm.
outsmarting the Almighty, which is something that tricksters do in all these creation stories, or a lot of them, where it's
Yep.
like you have Loki outsmarting, like
Odin.
Odin and shit,
Yeah. Yeah.
and like coming in just being like, "Aha, you're the wisest." Oh yes, yeah, yeah, and like tricks them into shit.
Mhm.
Mhm.
Like
Yep.
this is
Well, like
classic.
in Christian, like people who like who really get into the theology and like the history of Christianity and the history of the devil versus Satan versus Lucifer or whatever, like a Satan was it
Mhm.
was an angel being used as a tool
Mhm,
by God, right? To be put into positions to challenge his believers, to
Mhm.
to put
yeah.
them in positions to have to choose. Like absolutely, like ultimate trickster. I love that you went there.
Mhm. Yeah. You know when God was like freaking torturing Job, Satan was just looking
Mm.
at him like, ugh, damn, did he do that? Did he make him do
I
that?
wouldn't even do
That's
that.
that's shitty. That's pretty shitty.
That was pretty
Did he
awful.
just
Yeah.
put raisins
Yeah.
in the tuna salad? Gee, oh God! Oh,
Damn. Instead of grapes, what is going on here?
oh,
And can I throw
Well,
this thing off
mhm.
that Alex put a quote in the chat that I think is amazing, and it was back to what we were talking about. A few.
Mhm.
I don't want to totally derail us. Famous quote: "The greatest trick I ever pulled was convincing the world that there's an alternative," which I thought,
Mm,
yeah,
I like that.
I like that too. Thank you, Alex.
Yeah.
And thank you
Thank you.
guys. Thank you guys for chatting in the chat. Love y'all.
Yeah.
All right, please.
Well, you weren't derailing us that much because I've got good news for you guys, right? You guys ready for the good news?
Yeah.
I'm
So,
excited. Yeah.
Anansi still is a trickster god today in Hoodoo, and they use him as like help. Ananze, Ananzi, you can beckon Anansi to help you become a better storyteller. You can become a better performing artist, stand up comedian, writer, producer, any kind of performance artist, musician,
Cow.
all for the small fee. And tell me if this sounds familiar, Gil and Kristen. For treats, liquor, cigarettes, or even just some stories, songs, or jokes. Just like our little buddy down in
El
South
Pombero.
America. Yeah.
See,
Yeah. Damn it,
Mm-hmm.
dudes.
Pombero. You get around.
Mm-hmm.
Anansi is
So
Pombero.
yeah.
Also, I need more Anansi in my life.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Just bring out some treats, liquor, like some smokes. Pretty much just literally. Anansi's just like, quick, Kristen, smokes, smokes.
I got you, Anansi slash El Pombero.
Got you.
Yeah, yeah.
Honestly, my front porch constantly, I'm just trying to summon every goddamn entity that's out there. Cause like I constantly, I don't sleep that much. I'll be up till 3 in the morning. I'm drinking a beer. I'm lazy. I'll just like leave half a beer on my front porch with like a bunch of cigarette butts. I'm pretty much just like asking for it.
Mm-hmm.
It's basically how you summon
Nothing ever
fairies
comes.
as well. Just
and El
Infiltrates.
Pombero
Mm-hmm.
and Anansi and just
and all, just
I'm
all
so
of them.
spiritually lonely.
Mm-hmm. Well, fairies in
You need a
general are
friend.
tricksters, right? Fairies themselves are
Yes,
tricksters.
yes,
Mm-hmm.
they are. Absolutely.
100%.
Yeah. And
They're
they
the
live to trick.
such
There's
little shits.
Mm-hmm.
Sorry,
I
sorry.
know such cutie pies. Um, there's something I'm glad I'm taking this and I'm running with it. You brought up
Do
fairies.
it.
Something, dude. It's tricksters are fascinating. Just I know I've said that 40,000 times, and we're an hour and a half or whatever into this episode. Hour and 5 minutes into this episode, but um, something that fairies are known for, that so many other tricksters are known for, including El Bombero, is Donut. Why did you say Gil has bears? I do have bears. The
Mm-hmm.
bear that lives next to me, his name is Luffy. He's a
Seen the
sweetheart.
videos.
Yeah.
And can barely contain himself.
But but barely keeping it together. No,
Mm-hmm.
so it's tricksters, along with being able to shapeshift, also have a notorious reputation for warping people's perception, right? Their
Mm-hmm.
perception of, specifically, their perception of time. So making things feel very, very, very fast, making things
Yeah.
feel very, very, very slow, or it feels like, it only took 10 seconds, but actually you were gone for 5 hours, or you were gone for 5 hours, but it felt like 10 years, right?
Yeah.
This is such a classic effect of tricksters, and fairies are known for this specifically, of doing shit like this to you. Um, People with their encounters with Bigfoot have experienced similar shit.
Mm-hmm.
100%. El
Goodness.
Pombero does this exact same shit entirely. And probably most famously, at least in my mind, aliens. Aliens do this shit like a motherfucker. They
Mm-hmm.
love to shit on time. They love to screw with people's perception of time. Even the argument about aliens existing plays a role of, can we travel faster than light? Like, even the argument around their legitimacy comes down to our perception of time and arguing with it, which the best argument about aliens being able to visit is that they're able to bend time and space and travel here.
Yes. Mm-hmm.
This is just a modern argument for a trickster. And I'm not saying it's not legitimate. I want to clarify that, because it's really easy when we externalize things away from our general English speaking culture, which I'm assuming most folks listening to this are a part of the English speaking culture, right?
Mm-hmm.
Uh, it's really easy to externalize things as far away in the past or foreign, and we kind of like label it as goofy and strange, but we are not coming with the subtleties of being raised within the culture, right? We're hearing 3 paragraph highlights. We don't understand how
Yeah.
significant it is. And it's the same way that anybody hearing about aliens mocks and laughs at the concept of aliens. And they're like, oh, yeah, that's fucking stupid. I can't believe you believe in that. It's because they actually haven't taken time to dig into it and recognize that legitimacy, right? Or at
Mm-hmm.
least the potential legitimacy. But for this audience, for these audiences, I should say, um, all of our arguments, our most advanced arguments, the ones that are being presented to Congress right now, are based around trickster mythology. It's
Mm.
literally the bending of perception of time and space that goes with it.
Yeah.
It's shape shifting down to the actual craft itself.
Yeah.
It's being able to imitate things, appear in certain areas, even, and this is what's so fucking great. Something tricksters are known for throughout time, and it's in that 75-80% of all of them bracket, is advancing society by pushing
The
by
boundaries.
pushing norms, thoughts and impressions and concepts around trying to understand UFO technology
Mm-hmm.
literally pushes our understanding of science and what we research and try to develop. 100 fucking percent. We are
Mm-hmm.
no different than folks who look at the Anasi or look at Valis or whatever. We are no fucking different. And I
Same
think that
brain.
that is so important to kind of slap ourselves. At
Mhm.
least that's what I try to do when it comes to like El Bombero and other things where it's like, I don't want to get up on my high horse and be like, well, ho, ho, ho. And it's like, no, I don't have the intricate knowledge. I'm not on that social level. And
Mhm.
this is the same shit. It's everywhere. It's fucking everywhere. I don't know.
Mhm.
That's my rant on that subject, but it's
That was
love this shit.
awesome. I
Mhm.
loved everywhere we went with that. That's so fucking
Mhm.
cool.
Yeah,
Yes,
thank
and
you.
that goes along with kind of how I have been thinking about it. And I think you and I probably arrived at the same place, but coming from different ends. Like I wasn't introduced to the trickster concept until my season on UFOs and aliens, and
Mhm.
talking to somebody about abduction, and they introduced this to me. I was like, what does that mean? You, like aliens or like this trickster entity? What does that mean? And just going from there, realizing that all these subjects past, all of these paranormal entities that I have talked about and never thought the wiser, they match, especially ones that go back in time, like fairies. That hooked me because that takes the concept of aliens and UFOs and it gives it historical depth.
Mhm.
I can't see a difference between the stories of fairies and their abductions and their bending of time and their abilities and what is taking place in modern day abduction accounts. I do not see the difference anymore. I think they are the same thing. So,
Mhm.
and then being able to moving forward, tie that into Bigfoot accounts. And like Bigfoot, it's split down the middle between your flesh and blood apers and then the woo. But the woo side, when you look at the woo stories time and time and time again, it is matching the pattern. It fits with the same pattern that aliens fit, with the same pattern that fairies fit, of these
Mhm.
trickster behaviors and traits. So that's how I came to it. I came from it from the history point. Like I just found that sucked me in. I was like, there's something here. There's something here that can explain. Like it's the tie that binds.
Mhm.
What if fairy rings are just landing spots? Anyways, sorry, I just wanted to say.
I love
Oh,
this happiness that these connections are giving you guys, honestly.
Such nerds. Oh
No, I
the
gosh.
love it.
shit, the shit's
Great stuff.
fascinating. Like
It
another
is.
thing
It
too.
is.
I'm taking it, Joey. Another thing too.
Do it. Go ahead.
Tricksters are also really fucking notorious. They're in that 8/10, 9/10. I forget where I'm at with my percentage examples here, but the majority of tricksters are also advocates, proponents, and violent defenders sometimes of nature. Basically, you
Mhm.
disrespect
Yeah.
nature,
Mhm.
we'll disrespect you. That's a constant thing. What did every single UFO abductee come back and say with their messages about what aliens were trying to tell them?
Mhm.
Seriously, go find a single fucking abductee anywhere and ask them. It's y'all are gonna fuck up with nuclear weapons. Stop harming the planet. You're poisoning everything. Y'all need to chill the fuck out. We're trying to have peace here. Respect the earth. Don't fuck like it's the same shit. It is the same shit. Down to another trickster classic, which is fucking up travelers, misdirecting travelers, people
Yep.
getting abducted out of their cars, people
Mhm.
getting abducted on camping trips, people getting abducted on trip. It's the exact same thing. 100%. There is
Mhm.
no difference between somebody out there on a wagon who gets fooled by a ferry or some shit, or on a horse that gets fooled by a ferry or some shit, versus a semi truck driver on a on a road in the middle of the night who just all of a sudden is like, what the hell just happened, and only remembers a bright light. There is no difference between these two
Mhm.
experiences
Agreed.
for
Yeah.
the
Mhm.
human,
Mhm.
right? It's
Yeah.
and a lot of times they come back saying the same shit. Hey, we should really stop fucking things up. Um
Exactly. Yeah.
over and over again.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'd just like to interject real quick and just give a shout out to our sponsor, Quasga's Shutters and Blinds.
Shutters and
If you
blinds.
don't want us to abduct you, just shut your blinds.
Yeah.
And
I think
I
their
feel, thank you,
official
Quasga.
slogan, sometimes you need blinds.
Mm-hmm.
That's all.
That's
Sorry,
all.
Joe.
That's
Oh,
it.
Keep
okay.
Yeah,
going. Keep going.
Quasga's. Yeah.
I've got shutters and blinds.
Congratulations on your sponsor, guys.
Yeah.
Thank you.
The made
They've
up
been with
sponsor
us
apparently.
since episode
Mm-hmm.
10, episode 11. Shh, don't tell the AI
Yeah, yeah.
that.
Oh, sorry. Yeah, yeah. That's right. I was just reading the last Trickster God, wondering if I should go into it or if we should just go ahead into our talking points because you guys are crushing it already. Should I go ahead
I
and do
think
the last one?
I don't know. I've been covering my talking points throughout, so
Okay.
however you guys want to swing
I
it.
think I think you should save it, and I think we should cover it in the behind the scenes and post it
Ooh, there we
on
Yeah,
go.
that
our
sounds good.
various Patreons.
It will
What,
be on
y'all expected a
Patreon.
full episode? Guess what? It's a Trickster episode. You were never gonna get it.
Still
With
But
fun.
also,
trickster
guess what?
gods.
Guess what? You heard Patreon. You thought you had to pay. You don't. We
It's
all
free
have free
Treon.
membership opportunities, and we got the links in our show notes. Thank you very much. So
Mm-hmm.
we just want a better way to communicate. Because if you've made it this far in the episode, you obviously care for our rambling. Either you're rage listening, pleasure listening, or pleasure rage listening. If it's anything else, I don't want to hear what you're doing. Um, yeah, so obviously you give a fuck, and we'd love for you to give a fuck on a regular basis by staying connected to us at our various patrons. Paranorm Girl, find her on Patreon. Black Cat Report, find us on
Mm-hmm.
Patreon. It's all there. Um, but speaking of that long rant, you know what I would like to do with it? Another thing tricksters are known for: invisibility. All right, we haven't even touched on that
Hmm.
shit.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Tricksters are they cannot just shapeshift and like become anything that they want. They can also completely become invisible like aliens.
Hmm.
This
And
is
Bigfoot.
Mm-hmm.
Bigfoot,
It
right?
happens.
Across the board. Damn, you just delivered that with some eyes, like you seen it,
I've
but
been ready to fight for
you
Bigfoot this
you
whole episode.
unsynced it. You,
Why do
nobody's
you
fighting you.
why do you
No,
think Bigfoot
nobody.
why do you think Bigfoot is a cryptid or is not a cryptid and is more of a trickster? Why do you think
Well, I
that?
think
Just lay it on me. Lay it on
the
us.
concept of Bigfoot itself, it is a cryptid. It is a cryptid.
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
am not saying one side or the other is. I will say that the ape only side, they do have a shit ton of proof. They have so much proof, more than enough proof, a mountain.
Mm-hmm.
But I've
A whole
spoken
romance
to some
novel.
people, or an erotica novel.
Mm-hmm.
I've spoken to enough people on the other side of the aisle and listened to their stories and listened to what draws me into that side is the pattern and that it's consistent across the board.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and so I'm not going to be closed-minded to that. I still need to dig even further into it. I am open to it. Yeah, I'm not necessarily on the side that it is absolutely this trickster thing, but I do want to keep pushing it out there, putting it out there into the universe that,
Mm-hmm.
look at this. It matches, it belongs here.
Mm-hmm.
That's all.
Yeah. So if I can add this to maybe what you both are kind of putting forth in this, because Gil is real staunch and adding into this that hey, maybe aliens are tricksters. Maybe tricksters are aliens. Maybe it's a mixture. You
Hmm.
know, maybe. Go ahead. You can correct me if I'm wrong. I'm not wrong. Cool. I'll keep going. And Kristen, you're talking about how cryptids and or at least Bigfoot in this other area, which
Hmm.
in some people say flesh and blood, some people say it could be an idea more than anything, a trickster.
Hmm.
That maybe these tricksters are from. Can I posit this to go a little deeper? Are from another realm of existence. And they talk about angels being that. And that may
Sure.
be
Interdimensional.
yep,
Yeah,
yep, another dimension um, that we don't know of.
absolutely. Yeah, because they obviously they don't abide by that's the main distinction between us and them is while they can be physical and exist
Mm-hmm.
in this physical dimension, they don't abide by the
Nope.
same rules.
Yep.
So yeah, I think it's suffice it to
I
say,
think
I think they are from another dimension, another place,
Mm-hmm.
something. Hmm.
Well, into my thoughts behind it, I wonder, like where I think of it, and the idea of how I come through tricksters is it a physical being? Because we always ask this too. It's like with different cultures and just studying different trickster gods and goddesses and spirits in the different cultures is that in some cultures it seems like there is a physical being in
Right.
presence, you know. um with the indigenous, they talk about the coyote being that, and a coyote is a physical being, just like Gil talking about it
Yep.
earlier. Did the is the chicken or the egg? Was the
Mhm.
coyote just just the exact description of the trickster god, or did the trickster god inhabit the coyote to give it those characteristics? And that's kind of how I think of it. Or is it just like, with, I guess, in Norse mythology they actually thought they were real. They thought that the
Well,
gods were up on, looking down on them.
Mhm.
one quick easy note here. Wile E. Coyote, right?
Hmm.
Wile E. Coyote is completely made up, is a caricature, right?
Hmm.
Has a whole set of history, has a whole set of stories, culturally pretty well understood. I would say like 7 out of 10 folks are going to describe Wile E. Coyote the exact same way if you're talking to anybody in North America, right?
Hmm.
Anybody that's been raised in North America, they're going to explain Wile E. Coyote the same way, based off of loosely literal fucking coyotes.
Hmm.
So take this however, just because Wile E. Coyote, if coyotes went extinct and human history got wiped out, at least the long memory of it, and the bones were all destroyed, and they're like, oh, they had this character, and look at the depictions of him, and da 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 da, and this is how most folks described him over here. Some folks described him over here. There might be an argument for whether or not Wile E., coyotes were real, basically, because they were like, well, no, look at, obviously, like, he was in these fights with the rotor. There's no possible way there was an animal throwing dynamite. Like, this is insane, like,
Yeah.
so we have to look at history, especially when you're getting back into like 900 something AD, right?
Hmm.
Where it's
Mhm.
just like you started off by saying, yeah, I could barely find shit on them. Yeah, we don't have shit on them. But there were
Yep.
people getting together to sign under oath with their name. This was culturally understood, culturally relevant
Yeah.
in that way. It was that that was significant across different regions, right?
Hmm.
Um, but it begs the question. So Wile E. Coyote is not literally real, just a symbology, a representation, a
Hmm.
caricature, right? Coyotes are real. The cultural memory is real,
Hmm.
right? And that cultural memory can get faded and changes on person to person. Um, what does that mean for gods just in general, right?
Hmm.
So, does that mean that, again, which came first, the chicken or the egg? I think that has a lot to do with just our place in time and realization,
Hmm. Sure.
because we're able to, at this point in history, in 2000 years, I don't think we will be able to, at this point in history, we're able to say coyotes existed before Wile E. Coyote,
Right.
right?
Hmm.
But in
Mhm.
2000 years, people might look back and be like, I don't know, it's still debated on whether or not there was a wild canine running around.
Hmm.
Like they might literally say that.
Right.
And
Yeah.
just how
Right.
we look at like, this crazy bird dragons that, or, the spiders with human arms and legs and shit like that. Like these, we have to look at it the same fucking way. I don't know. I just don't think humans have gotten any smarter or dumber throughout history. I think we've pretty much coasted on the same level of stupidity. Um, which goes to show in the fact that we have to keep relearning the same historical lessons like in the
Right.
1930s but now in
Right.
America.
Mhm.
But that's
Mhm.
it's a different story.
It's
I think
fun times.
yeah, but this is hard to fucking, it's tricksters, man. Tricksters are fucking tricksters all the way around
Hmm.
because their inherent nature says you can't prove me, bitch, but everybody
Hmm.
talks about me. Like,
Yeah.
you ain't got a photo of me, but everybody can describe me.
Hmm.
You don't know what I can do, but everyone knows what I've done. And
Mhm.
it's just like, God damn, trickster.
Hmm.
Like, I have no name, but everyone has a name for me. It's just like, stop it already. Everything about it. This came up with El Pombero, where it's like it drove me fucking insane. Again, please, folks, anybody near to me, anybody that loves me, reach out to me. I'm in need of help. Don't let me look into tricksters again, because I go insane. I'm too literal of a person when it comes to research. And I had to literally flip to fucking tabloids, to the sensational clickbait articles in order to research tricksters, because in the true trickster fashion, the most illegitimate thing was the most legitimate thing. And like, which was like a
Mhm.
5 days after the episode was supposed to be released, I'm like, I understand what I should do now. Because the historical records fucking sucked and they all disagreed with each other, slash the sources weren't reliable because it was a bunch of fucking Christians coming in and being like, I don't know, Craig said it was brown, whatever. Anyways, we killed him. Like, it was all bullshit. It was hard to, I was like, I don't want to listen to this guy. He killed Craig. I love Craig. So
The best.
but in order to get this understanding of something that everybody knows about but isn't well documented, I had to go into clickbait articles, which are great for having one very strong quote that they just expand upon afterwards, and there's a bunch of bullshit added to it. And that was the only way I could get direct quotes from folks within this culture, within the society, where folks experience, live with, and understand El Pombero. And I was like, you fuck El Pombero, you son of a bitch.
Mhm.
The trust the worst thing in order to find the most legit evidence, which is the brilliance of tricksters, right? Just
Mhm.
as a goddamn whole. And this comes back to throw it back to Chris. This comes back to Bigfoot. Every Bigfoot,
It always does.
every Bigfoot nerd, Bigfooter, if you will, um, loves good casting of a Bigfoot print.
Oh, yes.
Every one of them does.
Mhm.
This is safe to say universal.
Mhm.
Um,
The biggest
Yet they're
attributes, yeah.
interdimensional, right? Yet
Mhm.
they're shifting between dimensions, but they're leaving physical traces. This goes back to the trickster,
Mhm.
just existence, where it's just like the even within the culture, it's this desperate need to show physical evidence while acknowledging this extratemporeal
Mhm.
type of like
Yeah.
existence around things, where
Right.
it's just like, we've got the footprints, everybody sends off hair samples, but you never really hear about them afterwards. But um, but there's always this fight for the physical,
Right.
but complete lack of physical at the same time.
Well, and that's where yeah, you run into
Some
your
trickster shit.
dividing line there, and that just goes back into people desperately trying to conceptualize things and stick them into a box so that I
Yeah.
can understand it with my stupid human brain. And that's where
Mhm.
you run into the line that divides. Like, the footprints, they're awesome. The people that are on that ape only side, it is a physical creature. Duh, it is a physical creature. It's an undiscovered ape.
Why not?
It's a
Mhm.
descendant of what's the word? Gigantopithecus. Um,
Big
I
word.
don't know. It's a little harder to explain that physical footprint if you're on the other on the woo side. Just that
Mhm.
they're physical while they're here. They abide by our rules while they're here.
Trickster
It's fun
guns
to
make an
think about,
impact
right?
Yeah.
on our reality while they're here,
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep. They sure
and dip the
do.
fuck out real quick. you know,
Yeah.
um, it's in the same way I could say the word lion. But what does a lion symbolize?
A lion,
Royalty.
Yeah,
Royalty,
justice,
nobility.
wisdom,
Yeah.
respect,
Aslan
upper
bravery,
from
class,
yeah.
courage,
strength.
right?
Yeah.
Mhm.
Strength, things like that. These are completely understood. Lions still exist.
Mhm.
Just because we have this shared, agreed upon like symbology behind it, doesn't mean that lions don't exist. The same way that we have a shared
Mhm.
understanding of a cartoon doesn't mean coyotes don't exist. Um, and tricksters play this exact spot, which is so perfect for them. They're that thing that's always going to get away, but be right in front of you. You know,
Mhm.
um, bastards, motherfuckers. I love them so
I
much.
I
I
think
would
the
get a tattoo of a
idea
trickster, but I don't know what to get.
I think El Pombera for sure. Uh I think the
Is that
idea
a large
of
mole?
yeah,
I need to
just
go to
El
a
Pombera.
dermatologist. It is that a tattoo of two partially deflated basketballs
Playing
inside
basketball
of a
stuffed into each other.
black pillowcase. Why, yes, it is.
Yes, it is. Yep. You know me. Uh,
Sorry,
I
Joe.
always think of the idea of like, and when we talk about the physical, just like with Bigfoot, and like if we talk about tricksters in general, and that the cultural part of it is that I would love so much, and I think a lot of people would love to go back into that like time period with that culture and be like, is this a physical thing in your life every day? And for some of it, I imagine they'll say, it mattered to us. It might not be physical, but it might just be just as real because of the way that these stories or the way that these things affect how we live our lives every day. You know, like you talked about pushing up against the boundaries of life, and depending on which culture, which area of the world, some of them have different ways of how they view their tricksters. Like we talked about uh I'm trying not to talk about the indigenous peoples one because we'll talk about that in the behind the scenes. But exactly. So there's your note to follow us to get the behind the scenes too. But talking about like Valus, and that it was more of like not really bad, but it still wasn't looked on as good. You know, Valus wasn't like
Yeah.
a great theme. But
Mhm.
then we talked about like Anansi, Anansi, and Anansi was like became like almost like a champion of the people, and
Mm,
that it was also part of it. So I think it just changed how tricksters are viewed, as how real they are, is where who's viewing them. And just like you guys talked about your tulpas, is the same idea, is that if you view them more as real, you can create that identity into reality. But
Mhm.
if you view it as less real, it goes away. I mean, just the idea of freaking, you know, believe in me. Like Tinkerbell. When you're trying to believe in Tinkerbell to believe in her, you got to keep her real. You got to believe in her. Santa Claus. If you watch Elf, the believability to get him to fly. So it's like I think of that idea is it just depends on the culture, how real life it is, and putting it into animals makes it even more real,
Mhm.
because we don't really know what animals are thinking in general. Like nobody has come up with the moment of a animal translator, so being able to translate what an animal, not yet but getting there, about what an animal's thinking, so you can inject what your thoughts are onto that animal, or your characteristics, even if they have some similar characteristics, like we talk about the coyote. So I always think about the idea of like how real something is depends on the culture that's creating it or viewing it, and for me that's such a cool thing to see, is like it just matters in their everyday life compared to ours. So it would be amazing to go back and be like, how real are these stories that you're telling? Like, let's talk about the indigenous people. How real are these stories you're talking about? Like you're telling your kids over a campfire, like this, came in and stole a coyote's like I can't think of the exact story at the moment, not reading it, but came in, basically stole the coyote's like food and tricked him. How real was that? Did you see a coyote and that happened? You're just like, dang, that's pretty tricky. That's a tricky
Dingo
coyote,
came and took my baby. Yeah.
Dingo came and took my baby. So I always like that idea, is that Seinfeld for the win. Is that it's just real compared to the culture that you look at, you know?
Right.
Yeah.
Hmm.
But at the same
What's
time,
real is
we never we never fucking know if it's applying symbology to something that exists. We don't. Can't.
Because we're not there,
Sorry,
you know?
Caprice. I didn't mean to cut you off, but what
no,
were you
no,
gonna
no.
say?
I was just gonna add on to that it's what's real seems to be whatever the group of people is entirely focused on. What's important to them,
Hmm.
whether symbologically or ideologically or in their physical world. What's the most important thing to them? What do they focus on?
Hmm.
I'm gonna
Interesting to see
fight you
there.
about that behind the scenes.
Oh,
Hmm.
girl. There
Hmm.
was a story which I'm going to tell behind the scenes as well, but we'll give them a little teaser. Painted Rock. I seem to recall the story at Painted Rock, and I feel so bad I cannot remember the tribe. D, if you're in the chat, help me out. There was this human origin story about how humanity
Hmm.
was actually created, and there are these paintings on the rock, and you can still see them today, of a daddy Bigfoot, a mommy Bigfoot, and their little baby Bigfoot. And it's just it goes through this whole story about how the all animals got together to create humans. And I do recall there was something to do with a good night, Alex, something to do with a coyote in that story being part of that
Mm.
creation process. So I'll
Wily
tell that backstage.
coyotes.
It
Mhm.
seems like that the Painted Rock tribe was probably in Arizona in the Southwest.
No, I wanted to say it's in the north. It's in the northwest. Oh gosh, Dwayne, help me. It's in the northwest somewhere, or California. Shoot, I'll
I'm
have to
looking
look.
it up right now.
Yeah, please look it up. Yeah, the
Mhm.
painted rock, and it's crying Bigfoot.
Damn.
Central
Because
Texas.
they're sad. They're sad. In
No
Texas.
wonder they ghosted.
Oh,
I mean, I feel like it was probably many tribes that they have a bunch of.
no,
I'm
it's
just
a
looking
pretty.
at Painted Rocks
You're
in general,
you're.
but I'm going way off.
Just naming
Now I'm
off
just
all the painted rocks
I'm
you
looking
find.
at pretty
finding
rocks.
rocks with
It
googly
probably
eyes,
is
like,
Texas.
Yeah.
apparently.
It's been a long
made
time
in
since I
China.
read that story, so
Yeah.
I blame my old brain. But yeah, any
25-year-old brain.
my whole 25 years. Yeah. Any final
We
thoughts?
can.
Did we want to take it backstage for the rest of
Mhm.
I think we should.
our
I
chat?
think we should take it backstage.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think we're
K-Boost.
cool with that. We got a
Yes. Where is it?
little bit of stuff.
You crushed it. You did a great
Was it
job
in? Oh,
this episode. Thank you so
Yes.
much.
Thank
Seriously, you
you.
really did. And
y'all rock.
thank you to us. Thank you, K-Boost. You killing it from Paranorm Girl Pod. And me and Gil are Black Cat Report. We are just
Hello.
normally here. This is what we do. You know what? We do like each other sometimes.
Quite a bit.
Yeah, just a bit. But K-Boost, do you want to give them some of your info?
Sure. You can find and follow the show on all socials at Paranorm Girl Pod across the board. You can also catch bi-weekly episodes of the show on all listening platforms, and catch all episodes of the show on YouTube in video format, YouTube, and sometimes Twitch.
Hell yeah. Gil, you want to give us our information for K-Boost?
Sure. Black Cat Report. It's pretty easy to find us. There's not a lot of things. If you're finding literal reports of black cats, that's not us. But the podcast dedicated to paranormal, true crime, strange history, and of course, UFOs. That's us. And we do a show once a week. It's supposed to be on Sundays, but ever since the Time Traveler series we did, what is time? Yeah, but
Doesn't
find us
exist.
pretty much anywhere. And if you don't find us somewhere, reach out to us. Contact at blackcat.report, and we'll send you a free sticker. We got a running bounty on it. So
We do.
K-Boost,
All right.
thank you for having us on your
Yeah,
channel.
thank you.
Oh, and thank you guys for coming on my show. This was awesome. We should collab more often.
100%
Yes, we
thank you.
should. Yeah. I don't know if you want to thank the Patreon listeners or not.
Yes.
You can thank yours. We'll just switch them up.
No,
here,
no, no.
K-Boost.
Go for it.
No. All right.
I don't
We'll
have
do
my
it.
list.
Oh.
Well, we'll thank them with the exclusive content that's coming up next.
There we
By
go.
the way,
Yeah.
hit us up on Patreon, patreon.com/ I'm assuming Paranorm Girl. It might be something else. I guarantee you it's the only one coming up for Paranorm Girl. And patreon.com/ Black Cat Report. It also might be something else. This is a Trickster episode. Haven't you learned anything? But point is, type it in, you'll find us. And if you don't find us, how the hell did you find this video? We love you all. Bye.
Bye.